Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making a Remembrance Day poppy. Well, we see it every year, November 11th of course being Remembrance Day, and we see so many people paying tribute to those who gave for our freedom by wearing a poppy on the lapels of their coats. And I thought to myself, I wonder if a wooden one could be made. So that's what we're going to look at today, and it could be a fun little project. And we're going to start off with some 1/4-inch pine. So what I've got is a little block of 1/4-inch pine. I just resawed it over on the bandsaw, and it's just a piece of scrap out of the scrap bin. You guys know how much I love to use up scrap. There's another one of those projects that's going to help you do that. But I went on the computer and I printed this up, and it's just a line drawing of a poppy. It's nothing really spectacular. You could do it freehand, you could do it on a computer like what I did here, whatever your little heart desires. But what I'm going to do is use some spray adhesive, and I'm going to attach it to the piece of pine. So here we have our piece of pine. We've got it secured onto the bench. And we've taken some spray adhesive, given the back of our poppy line drawing a generous coating of the adhesive, and then we've given it 3 minutes to tack up. Once the 3 minutes is up and the spray adhesive is tacked up really well on the back of it, you just want to sit it on top of your piece of stock, and bottom line, just rub it down so that it gets a good adhesion to the wood, because of course we're going to be cutting through this, so you don't want it to be lifting. That's a big mistake that a lot of people make when adhering patterns to their stock, is they don't use enough adhesive, and then as they're cutting with the scroll saw, which we're going to use in this case, that pattern lifts up, and then of course sawdust will get up underneath that pattern and take away any adhesion you ever had. So make sure that it's rubbed down really well and that you have good adhesion to your stock. Now what I've done here is I've gone ahead and numbered these pieces, and as you can see I've done 1, 2, and then 2, 3, and 3, 4, 4, and 1. And what this does is once we cut this apart, eventually it's going to get glued back together. And as you cut the pieces, you want to mark on the back side, so not this side, I'm just showing you how to mark it here, but you want to mark each piece like this to make sure that when we have finished the project and we try to put it back together, that it's going to fit together properly. So now that we've got this explained and you know how to number the pieces, you want to install the smallest blade you can into your scroll saw, and for me that would be a number 2 reverse tooth. And we're going to go through and we're going to cut out all of these pieces, including that center of the poppy there, but I am not going to bother with these. I might, actually, now that I think about it, just to give it a little bit of extra character. So why don't I go ahead, head over to the scroll saw, and we'll cut this out. And with that, now we have all the pieces cut. You can see there that I've marked the center with an arrow pointing up to the top piece being part 1, 2. And all the numbers are written on the back, just like what I explained to do earlier. And now what we need to do is shape each piece. And you can do it by hand, it's pine, or you can do it very carefully with an oscillating sander, whatever you like. But what you want to do is you want to get a taper from the outside edge down to the middle, and you want all of these edges rounded and shaped. Now, you don't have to be an artist to do this. You don't have to be some kind of guru with a sander or some kind of amazing woodworker. You just gotta have an image of your mind as to what you want this poppy to look like. And as long as you have that, I mean, you will do just fine. So I'm going to take this over to the oscillating sander for starters, and I'll be removing the majority of the material. And once I get the majority of the material removed, I will do the rest with some hand sanding. So let's head over to the oscillating sander. Well, we're over here at the oscillating sander, and you want to be careful if this is the method that you're doing it. Don't go into the rotation. If the rotation is turning this way, don't come in against it. Work from the back and pull away from it. Otherwise, it could suck you into it, and that's not a good thing. You also want to make sure of the dust collection. And here we've got to the shop vac, and this is to the dust collector. And you can see here I've got a chicken wire fence in front of that. More than once a piece has slipped out of my hand and gotten sucked into the collector, and then it is lost. As well, the collar here for this particular sanding drum is actually oversized, and I have it oversized to assist with pulling the dust down through and into the shop vac. So I'm going to go ahead and shape this piece. I'll show you how I'm going to shape it, and then we'll come back and go on from there. you can see here we've done the rough shaping on this piece, and we've kind of tapered it down to the point a little bit. We've taken the rough shape off the edges here by rounding it just a touch, and we've made this center valley of the poppy petal. You want to be careful that you don't take away your original edge along here, because that's going to become your glue surface a little later. So now with this piece, we're going to take a piece of 220 grit sandpaper, and we're going to finish the sanding and shaping of this piece by hand. And once we get that done, we're going to go ahead and shape all the others. Now, the shaping process is exactly the same, so you don't need to see it 3 more times. I will just go ahead and do the other 3, and I'll come back and see you. All the 4 pieces of the poppy, not including the center, have all been shaped. So I want to take you over to the bench and show you what it looks like at this point in time. But first, I want to caution you about using the spindle sander again, or the oscillating sander, whatever you want to call it. Make sure that you are not going into the rotation. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but as it's spinning, you want to be spinning away from you, like that. You don't want it to be doing this and have you put the wood into it, because it will jam it and fire it back at you. And it just makes for a more dangerous situation in a situation that's already kind of dicey because of the small parts. But just be careful, and don't forget your dust collection and your respirator. And with all that jazz being said, now let's go over to the bench and have a look how this thing is coming along. Well, here we have it. The poppy has got some really nice shape to it. It's sunk in rather nicely in the middle, and I'm really glad that I changed my mind and decided to cut out those little crevices there, because they really give an extra accent to the whole piece. Now, I do have the center piece right there, and I've given that a little bit of shape with hand sanding, and it will end up being quite proud of this center, which is now concave from the sanding. You just want to make sure that when you're shaping this, that all of these edges are rounded and at the same level. And it's very easy with pine to do that with hand sanding, but you'd hate to have a rounded edge and then all of a sudden there's a large drop where there's a flat edge of the piece. It'll stick out like a sore thumb. So put the centerpiece aside for now, and what we want to do is we want to glue all these back together, and all that's going to take is a little bead of glue along these flat edges here, and we'll carefully piece the whole thing back together. Now really, this part here isn't rocket science. You've got your numbers that line up with each other, so you just want to take a little bit of glue, not much, along that flat edge, and once you get it along that flat edge, you basically lay it. I've got some wax paper down here just to save my bench, and you lay it together just like that and fit it in. Now there's some squeeze out there, and for that you just get a little bit of water on some Q-tips and just clean that out. And now we're going to go ahead and glue the rest of this together. Well, we've got the pieces glued back together with the exception of the middle. The middle is just stuck in there. We used it as a reference point to make sure that everything was lining up. And let me just show you what this looks like here. This is what we're looking at so far, and it looks pretty cool. And at this point now, you can leave that like that, or you can paint it, or you can do like I'm going to do and add some flocking. So when it comes to flocking, you want to make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row, because you don't have much working time. So We've got our manual flocker here, and it's filled to a proper level, which would be about half full with red flocking. We've got our red adhesive here and our brush. We've got our piece being our poppy that's ready to be flocked. And we've got our tray to conceal all of the overspray of flocking so that we can contain it and use it at another time. And if you're not sure how to do flocking, I do have a video of it on the channel, and you can go ahead and check that out. It does show you step by step how to apply flocking, but we're just going to go through this one quickly. So just with the red adhesive, we're going to apply it to the poppy and try to get it as uniform on there as you can. You want a good uniform coat, and because this is the stuff that's going to cause the flocking or the suede text to stick, and if you don't have a uniform coat on there, you're risking bare patches, and you really don't want that on your project. So we're going to continue here working all the way around, making sure we get into all the little crevices, because where we had this all cut apart, there can be gaps. So we'll just be careful here and get a good even coat. So I'm going to stop talking about it because obviously I can't walk and chew gum at the same time because I'm having problems doing this, but that's okay. So there we go, we have all the edges done, and now we're going to go ahead and fill in the middle with our adhesive. Like I said, good, even, generous coating on here. You don't want it so generous though that it leaves runs. So a nice even coating, and I can see some bare patches here where the wood is seeping in some of that adhesive, and that's kind of what we want to avoid. So there we go. And there we have a nice even coating of the flocking on our piece. I'm just going to slide that over just a touch, just like that. And now what we're going to do, get our adhesive out of the way, and with our manual flocker, you just want to pump that red flocking all over that piece, and don't be shy. You want to get a nice solid coat, and it'll probably look like crap at first, like you put way too much on, but that's the nature of this stuff. Don't be shy, get it on there. You need a good coating. And with that now, this is going to be left until tomorrow, and we'll come back and we'll carry on when this flocking and the adhesive has dried. Well, the flocking is done on the petals of the poppy, and now we have to deal with that centerpiece. And I'm not going to flock something that's that small. It's just not worth the setup. But if you want to, you can. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to give it a nice coat of black paint. And spray paint I think would be easiest for this application. So I'm going to go ahead and spray the center of the poppy black. And with that, we're going to have to leave it for overnight. No big deal, some projects are like that. So it's only going to be a second for you, but it's going to be overnight for me, and I'll see you guys in the morning and we'll carry on with this project. Well, here we are, we're back, it's the next day. Let's take a look at what it is that we have now. Well, this here is the way we left it yesterday in our little tray, and we're just going to pull it out of here. It's stuck a little to the bottom of the tray, but that's okay. And we're just going to knock the excess off of this, and you can just take a brush and just give it a light brushing, and this will remove any of the loose pieces that are stuck to it. And I just want to show you a close-up of this, and look at that. Isn't that awesome? That looks great. So I'm going to finish brushing off the loose flocking or suede text that's on this, and we're going to glue our centerpiece that we painted black into the middle of it. And all of this stuff here, if you're using the flocking, don't throw it out. Put that back in your container because this is completely reusable. So I'm going to go ahead, glue that centerpiece in, finish brushing this off, and I'll see you in just a minute. And now with the center glued in, you are left with something that looks like this. And if you don't think that's awesome, I don't know what to tell you. And there you have it. A wooden Remembrance Day poppy. Let me just get in here and give you guys a close look at that. Just look at that. That's spectacular. Are you kidding? Scrap wood turned into something that means a little more to a lot of people. Guys, there's a brooch pin on the back of this that was used with contact cement to hold it on. You could glue a magnet on the back, a thumbtack, and use it as a push pin on a cork board. How about something like those hair banana clips that the girls put in their hair? Take the metal mechanism off of that and glue it on the back, and you have yourself a Remembrance Day hair clip. 1,000,001 different ways to use it. How about enlarging it and making a larger version for maybe a vet that you know to say thank you? Either way, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you're going to try this one because it really is a lot of fun. And give it your own twist. See what you can come up with. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to see you again next week with yet another woodworking video.